Okay, how's everybody? Good. You guys probably getting exhausted from what, 5 days of non-stop training? That's a lot of material to absorb in just 1 week. So I won't take too long. I know this is Friday, and this is your last talk. It's just the last talk that you have to sit through, and I'm here just to close this up. My name is Munil Shah. I'm the group test manager for the Windows Sustain Engineering team. So I basically run the test org here. My background is I've been at Microsoft for about 9 years now. Spent half of my time in the development organization and half in the test. So, but all of that in Windows. So basically, Windows is my world, and so I have a lot of experience in the Windows space, and I'm sure I can share that with you. So actually, before I start, I've got a couple of questions, and I would like to have show of hands. Okay. So my first question is just you went through this training for 1 week. I'd like to know how you felt the training went, and basically, I would like to know how you thought the training went compared to the expectations you had at the start of this whole training session. Okay, and you have 3 choices. One is it exceeded your expectation. 1, it met your expectation, and 3, it basically didn't meet your expectation. So can I have show of hands? People who thought this exceeded your expectations? Nobody. Okay. People who thought this met your expectation? Okay. That's pretty much almost everyone. I won't ask the third question because I don't want to embarrass either the presenters or you guys, because I can just do the math here myself. Second question. So this is just based on all the training you guys went through, based on all the stuff you've known about our business, what we do, why you're here, what we're expecting you to do. How confident do you feel about the job that's ahead of you? Okay, or the job that's asked of you? Again, 3 choices. First, you feel super confident. You feel like you can do this in your sleep. Second, you're confident, meaning you think if you apply yourself very well, you can do this. And third, you're scared. You think this is going to be hugely challenging. Okay, show of hands. 1, you feel super confident. You think you can do this in your sleep. No, 1 person. Go on. And he works in our team, so that's great. 2, you feel confident. And how many people feel scared? Nobody. All right, good. So with that, let's start. And I'll give you a context of why I asked that question later on. Yeah. Oh, okay. So my first question was around the expectations, whether the training met your expectation, and pretty much everyone said it met their expectations. I might have missed a hand or 2, but I don't think we had anybody in the first category or the last category. And for my second question, same thing. Everyone feel confident that they can do this job. Okay, so just a quick overview of the Windows SE organization. Basically, we are going to have think of this as a 3-part organization. One is the Redmond team over here, and we have within that we have dev, program management, and test. I run the test org. Then we are setting up a WinSE IDC. This is the India Development Center. This is the Microsoft India, which is in Hyderabad. And that's going to be about 50% organization. And the third is basically you guys. This is the vendor organization, which is about 300 to 400 people. Now, you look at this number and go, why is the test org disproportionately large here, right? And again, I think as I go through the rest of the slide, you will realize why that's the case. And because it's a heavily test-focused activity that we do here. So, few months ago, we had a lot of business strategy meetings, and we were trying to figure out how the long-term sustaining engineering model should look like, and we had a lot of discussion on this and presentation to execs and stuff. And we came up with this model. Actually, before I go into the model, how many people know what Windows support lifecycle is? Has anyone gone to like Windows, Microsoft website? I see 1 hand at least. This is basically how long we are supposed to support different Microsoft products, right? That's what it is. And this is not just specific to Windows, this applies to all Microsoft products. We have actually 11-year life cycle of support. The first 5 year, what we call a mainstream phase, is this is a free support. Anyone can request a fix, any company can request a fix, and we would do a QFE, and we also can do a security fix. This is a free support for first 5 years. The next 2 years is an extended support where we would do security fixes for free, but you cannot get your, hey, there is a bug here, go fix it type of QFEs. And the last 4 years is the custom support. This is where people who want support, they have to sign contracts with us and pay us money, and then they can get support. So you can see, 11 years of support, that's a long time. And you think about like NT4 shipped in 1996, 11 years, that means we'll be supporting it till 2008. XP until 2011 and so forth. It's extremely challenging to keep the code base very clean and high quality. More than that, just retaining knowledge, expertise is a fairly complex problem. So what we decided is that the WinSE team in Redmond, we will own the N and N-1 operating system. So think of this as, in today's world, N would be 2003, Windows 2003, N-1 would be Windows XP. And the IDC, which is the Microsoft India team, would own the older operating system, N-2 to N-5. And again, we would own it for the first 4 years, and they own it from 5th year onward. Because, in the later years, we don't do as many fixes, we don't do service packs, so the requirements are less. And in the beginning year, we want to have a close connection with the core Windows team, the team that developed the operating system, so we can have a closed loop with them. So we try to keep that support work done here. And the idea is that the vendors will help across all this operating system, but primarily in the testing area. So we have some immediate goals, and that's partly the reason you are here. Today, I talked about this 4 operating system. Not all of the operating systems are serviced by our organization today. That's because we've just never had the capacity to do all of them. And so we've always relied on the core Windows operating system division, the division that shipped, for example, XP and Server 2003, to do a lot of the sustaining work. And that's really not in our interest to do that. Because we really want that team to be free of doing sustaining work and want to be doing more of the next version development and have a sustaining engineering work done by one specific team. So our goal is to move majority of the SE work off the core Windows team by middle of this year, and at the same time keep the existing focus on day-to-day work. Okay. For that, we want to ramp up the Redmond team to own all of XP and Server 2003. We want to ramp the IDC team to own all of 2K, Win2K, and NT4. And we want to ramp the ODC sustaining effort, that's you guys, basically on all platforms. Okay. And then, of course, some deliverables on Service Pi 5. So these are sort of the high-level goals. These are super aggressive goals, and that's why we're bringing you guys here. We're training you, rapid training, and you're going to be here for the next couple of months. You'll be working with folks in my team, and we want you to pick up how we do run our business, as quickly as possible. Go back and own most of this stuff by June 2004. So let me spend a few slides on explaining the ecosystem, the servicing complexity we have, and stuff like that. So first of all, when you think about the Windows ecosystem, we are at, Windows is a $12 billion business. That's by itself is the biggest software company in the world. Microsoft is a $35 billion company, so 1/3 of that is Windows. So it's a fairly huge chunk of Microsoft business that we are responsible for. Look at the user base, 600 million plus users depend on Windows. And I'm counting Windows 98 in here also, and I didn't mention that on the previous page. But Windows 9X family of products, 600 million users. Now, I know pretty much everybody here is from India, so you might think, well, considering India's population, that's a pretty small number. But believe me, that's a pretty big number to have as a customer base. We have Fortune 500 customers with 100K plus desktop deployment per customer. 10,000 plus servers deployed per customer across 100 different countries. I mean, hugely complex setup that we have to service and manage and make sure it keeps running properly. Support of thousands of device and hardware configuration, literally. 5 million plus developers building solutions on Windows. Want to make sure that when we do patches, when we do service packs, we don't break any API that they may be using. Thousands of productive apps, I can go on and on and on. I mean, you get the idea. To do a quality job is pretty hard, and make sure that we don't break any of these guys. It's pretty hard. So this is another way to look at our servicing burden. Again, this slide doesn't talk about Windows 9X family, but across Windows NT family of products, NT4, Win2K, XP, and Server 2003. Look at the kind of variations we have to support. So you have source code variations. These are the within a particular product line, we may have different source branches. So for example, on NT4, we have NT4 and NT4 terminal server. Those are two separate source trees. Within that, we have English, and then other languages are two separate source trees. So we have in NT4, we have actually 4 different source trees that we have to maintain. And then you say how many service pack we have to support. So because not all customers are always on latest service pack. So when you come out with a security patch, you have to do it for the customers who are on the latest service pack as well as the customers who are on the older service pack. So we support up to 2 service packs today. Number of languages, anywhere from 22, 24. Then you have the variations on SKU, whether it's professional, home, server, advanced server, data center, embedded, and so on, right? And so what this means is that when we do a single security bulletin, sometimes we have to come out with 159 separate packages or separate fixes. And you fail on 1 or 2 of them, next day you hear about it in media, and you hear about it from our execs also. So pretty daunting task to make sure that we don't break any of this variation, and not only that, and do it very effectively and efficiently. And of course, you can apply lots and lots of people to a problem and solve it, but that's really not the answer here. The answer here is do the right kind of testing so you can get a lot of efficiency. And this servicing burden is just growing. We are adding XP SP2 support, 2003 server SP1 support, AMD 64. So this is just going to get worse. I mean, this is this current snapshot, and it's going to just get worse. There is yet another way to look at the complexity of testing. This is primarily from the testing side. So what I have here is sort of the number of combinations that we have to test. And I'm not talking about the actual test cases you may have, which are again, a lot of them per component. But just walking through this. So number of OS versions, 4, NT4, Win2K, XP, Server 2003. Code bases, each of them have between 1 to 4 code bases, service pack levels that we have to support, languages, architectures, x86, NEC98, Itanium, AMD 64, SKUs, as I said, home, pro, server, advanced server, DTC, small business server, embedded, tablet, media center, install types, you have all kinds of different install types. So you multiply all that, you do the math, it comes to about 17,000 combinations. Well, fine. But it doesn't stop there. Then you say, okay, well, how many different components we have in Windows? We actually are close to, we're tracking all the components. There's a tool called CommCentral where we keep track of all the components. This is the tool that we use to sign off when we are ready to release and stuff like that. It's got about 4,000 plus components, and that includes subcomponents. And when I talk about components, think about it as like, a shell would be a high level component, then it would have a lot of subcomponents, and TCP/IP would be a component, right? We have about 600 tier 1 components in Windows. Then you say, how many different ways you test a component? So these are what we call test buckets, and I'm sure you probably heard about this. For example, you have to do security testing, performance testing, accessibility testing, globalization testing, functionality, interop, and so on. There are about 30 different buckets. So you do again multiplication, you do the math. 308 million combinations. And again, I'm not counting the actual test cases here. All right? Then you worry about apps. Again, you got thousands of apps and thousands of devices. So the test metrics that we deal with day in, day out is humongous. So that brings me to your role, okay? First of all, I would like you guys to become Windows internal expert as a tester, okay? And when I hire people, when I do a lot of interviews, a lot of people are just excited about, hey, I'm going to be working in Windows, and I get to see how Windows really work internally. I came here with the same excitement when I came here a while back. So that's pretty exciting, and at the same time fairly challenging. Some of you probably know millions of lines of code. One of the things is that a lot of people realize that when they own a component, let's say you own TCP/IP. Okay, well, you can read up RFC, you know how TCP/IP is supposed to work. You can look at the TCP/IP code, and just when you think, well, I kind of know enough about TCP/IP, then you start worrying about, well, let me see how TCP/IP interacts with the rest of the system. How does TCP/IP interact with WinSE? How does TCP/IP interact with redirector? How does it interact with the network driver? And again, your world of complexity just grows significantly. So becoming Windows expert, believe me, people spend here many years and they feel like they've just scratched the surface. So, and again, I want you to do that in 3 months. No, just kidding. But that's the idea, right? Try to gain as much knowledge as possible about Windows, about the component that you own, but try to get knowledge even around that. Then we need your help basically executing on the whole test metrics that we have. It's pretty huge, and we need your help. Then we would also like you to think about updating our existing test plans. If you have test documents that are missing, we may ask you to create those documentations. Identify test holes. What we are giving you is the test plan that we may have. Some of them well documented, some of them not well documented. In some cases, all you get is a tool, a code. Sometimes you get a binary that doesn't have code. I mean, you'll see some of those cases. Again, this goes back to supporting a product for 11 years, and sometimes we didn't do a good job in the early phase of keeping track of everything. And sometimes people left and stuff like that. So retaining the knowledge has always been a problem. So just don't go with the plans and test plans and tools and binaries we give you. Always think above and beyond. Beyond that, identify test holes. You'll be asked to do self-hosting, running stress. This is sort of at Microsoft, we always believe in dogfooding our products, right? So before it goes out, we want to live the experience that customer is going to live through. And self-hosting is all about that. Then we also want you to help us with development of new tests and tools to improve the efficiency. Again, think about that big matrix that I mentioned earlier. Implementation of better processes, help us reduce customer pain and gain customer sat is basically what we want you to help with. My last slide is about sort of at a high level how I think about the Windows SE test processes. I'm not sure if you've seen this slide in any other presentation. No, they have not. It's okay. So we kind of look at this testing in 4 buckets, starting with the smallest scope and then increasing in scope. So first is sort of the setup and BVT testing. So with each package, you hear this term a lot, whether it's a GDR package or service pack, just doing sort of the basic setup and BVT testing, install variation testing. Then we talk about depth testing. This is the testing of individual fixes in a component area, so testing of your own component. Then the concept of integration and breadth testing. This is sort of testing the entire system as a whole, doing application compatibility, self-hosting, stress, so sort of making sure the whole system behaves correctly. And then we rely a lot on OTG and customer feedback via our beta programs. So these are the sort of the 4 components of our testing, and don't confuse that with the buckets. This is sort of the high-level philosophy on how we get fairly good extensive test coverage. And then we apply this high-level buckets to different deliverables we have. And as you can see, the hotfixes, the QFEs are tested the least, and service specs are tested the most. And the challenge area is the line in middle, which is the security patches. Because from customers' point of view, they actually expect quality to be even higher than service pack, higher than the RTM product. Because once they have systems up and running, they get a security patch. They don't have time to test it. They just want to deploy it right away because there's probably a worm that is already floating on the internet. Just last week on February 10th, we released I don't know if you guys knew, we released the ASN1, the fix for the ASN1 vulnerability. 5 days later, there was a worm floating on the internet. There was a source code available on the internet. So that means the customers have less than 5 days to install and deploy that patch across, like I said, 100,000 desktop, 10,000 servers. It's a huge problem for them. And so that means their expectation on the quality is very, very high, even higher than service pack. And yet, the turnaround expectation is very low. Somebody reports a problem to us, a hacker finds a problem, or some security company reports a problem to us. We have to turn it around very quickly. So you don't have the luxury of time, unlike as you do in case of service pack. So hugely challenging problem, and you'll hear a lot about that. So that's all I have. I'll open it up for questions. Now, before I let you ask questions, I'm going to ask remember the question I asked earlier at the beginning of the presentation? I'm going to ask that again. I'm going to see if the answer changes, okay? And the question is, based on what you know now, how confident do you feel about the job that's ahead of you? Again, 3 choices, okay? Super confident, you think you can do this in your sleep. Second choice, confident, if you think if you can apply yourself, you can do this. And third, you're scared. This is going to be pretty hard. So, show of hands. Super confident, how many people? All right, we still have one guy. That's great. 2, confident. Okay. Scared. All right, I just heard Mifeng who's scared. Wow, so the answer didn't change. So that's great. I'll open it up for questions. Any questions? People are tired, they just want to go home. Friday evening, watch movie. Well, no questions, then that's pretty much it. Basically, just closing, I would say, you guys are here for next few months. You'll be working closely with my team. As I said, we really want you to come up to the speed fast. We have some aggressive goals. Don't want you to hesitate to come ask any of us in our management, even to me. If you have any questions, you get roadblocks. If you have any concerns, we are here to help you and get you up and running as fast as possible.